we're here today again for the City County Press Conference on severe weather. Our guest speakers today are Multnomah County Chair Deborah Kafoury, Portland City Commissioner Dan Ryan, Mark Jolin, who is the Director of the Joint Office of Homeless Services, and our Multnomah County Health Officer, Dr. Jennifer Vines. We're also really grateful to be joined by Jana Papa F. the MIU of Portland Emergency Management and Chris Voss of Multnomah County Emergency Management. And what we're going to do is go ahead, hear from our speakers, then I'll ask Jana and Chris to come back on and join, and reporters will be able to ask your questions. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chair Deborah Kafoury.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate you all taking the time to join us today. As many of you know and have heard already, the National Weather Service is forecasting snow to begin falling on Christmas Day, with temperatures well below freezing for the most of next week. So I've joined my city and county colleagues to call this press conference to share information about how we are preparing for the severe winter weather that's on its way, and how community members can aid each other to get through what is likely to be a difficult week ahead, especially for our neighbors experiencing homelessness. This is going to be a very challenging Christmas season, and we all need to prepare. Since last weekend, the county has been actively planning with the cities of Portland and Gresham, with TriMet, 211, and our utility companies, and many other partners to prepare our community for the weather conditions ahead. With the increased risk to the health and safety and welfare of Multnomah County residents, I am declaring a state of emergency for Multnomah County due to extreme winter weather. This declaration will go into effect tomorrow, December 24th, and will last through January 3rd. It's important that we do this to give us the maximum ability to plan, contract, and seek additional resources for the immense challenges created by an extended period of freezing temperatures, especially around our efforts to reach and assist people surviving outside. It's a critical tool that allows us to move nimbly during a situation when we can't afford to lose time. And that is certainly going to be the case starting this weekend and through next week. We are preparing to open 5 severe winter weather shelters throughout the community. They will open on Saturday, Christmas Day at 3 p.m. and they're going to stay open 24 hours a day, just as long as the weather thresholds for severe weather are met. We have Mark Jolin on the call, and he will share the locations and the details about those shelters. These sites will be open to anybody who's seeking warmth and shelter during the emergency, just as we do every winter. For the latest information about shelter options, please call 211. And 211 can also arrange free rides to and from any of these shelter locations. All of you who are here today understand the pivotal role that the media plays in helping to spread the word about these life-saving resources to the community. So thank you for being here. And I also want to thank our partners who are taking important steps to prepare our community for what's ahead. With this declaration of emergency, I'm pleased to say that TriMet will be offering free fare for anyone going to our warming shelters for the duration of the winter emergency. No fare will be needed to get to a shelter site. I want to thank TriMet for leaning in, and especially thank the drivers and dispatchers who are at the forefront during these weather emergencies. We can't overstate how critical our public transportation is to our community's response during severe weather, and we're grateful that they are stepping up. I also want to let our community members know that through the work of Multnomah County's Office of Sustainability, with the Oregon Public Utility Commission, Pacific Power, Portland General Electric, and Northwest Natural, your electricity and gas will not be shut off due to non-payment through January the 2nd. Since we first learned about the impending forecast, county staff have been working around the clock to prepare, and we're going to hear from our county health officer on what we can do for ourselves and for each other. But before we hear from them, I want to make an urgent plea. Please, please make an effort to check on your neighbors throughout this cold snap. Knock on their door, make a call, or send a text. Let them know when you're going to the store. Ask how you can help. And if you think that you might need help, please do not be afraid to ask for it. And also, please keep an eye out for our unsheltered neighbors too. Both Mark Jolin and Dr. Jennifer Vines will share information about how we can best help and look out for them. And I want I want to point you to the county's new Care for When It's Cold webpage, which has all the latest information about shelters, where to get help, volunteer opportunities, how to keep your family safe, and more. And you can find it at multco.us/cold. Once again, that's multco.us/cold. One of the most enduring and escapable points of clarity that we've learned through the last 2 years is that Multnomah County or the city of Portland or any single agency or department cannot do this alone. We need the community's help. We need your help to help one another. I want to extend my gratitude to those who have already begun to prepare to meet people where they are. County employees, our outreach teams, community organizations, mutual aid groups, neighborhood emergency teams, and individuals. I know that many people will be working through the holidays, and your commitment is deeply, deeply appreciated. With this cold snap, what is a matter of a holiday inconvenience for some is a matter of life and death for others. So we ask you to join us in leaning into the values that for so many of us, this holiday season really is about: community, service, generosity. Please share, concern, be present for your neighbors, your friends, and your family. And before I turn things over to Commissioner Dan Ryan, I want to thank the City of Portland for its partnership and coordination with the county during this time and always. And with that, here's Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you so much, Chair Kafoury. My fellow Portlanders and those in the metropolitan area, I hope this finds the majority of you home with loved ones, well-stocked and resourced for the holidays, and especially for the oncoming winter storm. Today, Mayor Ted Wheeler declared an emergency that begins at 8 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, through December 31st, with the ability to extend as needed. Multnomah County, the City of Portland, and the Joint Office of Homeless Services will open severe weather shelters beginning Saturday, December 25th at 3 o'clock. Can we all just take a breath together and feel some gratitude that we are housed, that we're safe, and we're prepared for the storm? Because today is about how we, the city and the county, are coming together to care for those who are not housed, nor equipped to survive this upcoming storm. We want to acknowledge how hard our shelter operators and service providers have worked in the face of multiple, and I do mean multiple, crises this year, and how this upcoming weather will challenge us all once again. Thank you so much to the city, county, and nonprofit partners who are adjusting their calendars as we speak to be of service in the coming days. And thank you to your families who are being patient and supportive of them as they do this. I want to assure our community that through the holiday and through the severe weather, Portland's first responders will be out working hard to provide critical services to those in need. Our coordinated crisis response will rely heavily on the city's public infrastructure. The Portland Building, East Portland Community Center, and the Mount Scott Community Center are all there to serve our city in all seasons, including the severe weather event we are about to experience. Now I want to call on Portlanders to help where you can. I can't tell you how many times I hear this question: how can I be helpful? What would you like me to do? Well, here's your opportunities. Do you have an unhoused neighbor you want to keep safe? Check on them, help them, call 211 for transportation to a shelter. Perhaps you're cooped up with your family and you'd like to get out. Maybe some of you would decide to volunteer for a shift. We're opening up, and our call for the support from the general public is on. Learn how to volunteer at Multnomah County's When It's Cold page. Mark Jolan will expand on this further when he's up. You have some extra supplies that could save an unhoused person's life. Find out what we need and please donate now. Go to the 211 website. And this is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. Please shovel your sidewalks. Think of your neighbors with disabilities and elderly neighbors. And a little key, because it's supposed to get really cold after it snows this upcoming week, shovel it while it's still fresh. It's much easier than before it turns icy. Most importantly, please stay vigilant. If you see someone who appears to be disoriented or in any way in need of assistance, don't hesitate to call 911. Hypothermia is a life-threatening condition that can hit very, very quickly. I was always taught to look for the helpers in situations like this, and I encourage all of you to be one of them. Like the chair said, lean in, do something to help. The outcome of this storm depends on all of us to do the next right thing. Now's our time to come together and be the gift this season that our city needs. It is my pleasure now to introduce an experienced and accomplished public servant, Mark Jolin, who leads the Joint Office for Homeless Services. Mark.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm concerned that my video is not on. Just one moment. There we go. Thank you again, Commissioner. My name is Mark Jolin. I am the Director of the Joint Office of Homeless Services for Multnomah County and the City of Portland. I want to provide a few additional details with respect to our shelter and outreach operations and reiterate some of what you've heard about ways that community members can help our unsheltered neighbors during this upcoming storm. So the Joint Office, in partnership with the Department of County Human Services, County Emergency Management, and the city's Emergency Management Bureau, have been planning for months to be ready to open severe weather shelters in a situation like this. As you've heard, on Saturday at 3 p.m., we will be opening 5 severe weather shelters throughout the community. The first one is the Sunrise Center in East County at 18901 East Burnside. The second is the Salvation Army site in North Portland at 5325 North Williams. The third is the Portland Building located downtown at 1120 Southwest 5th Avenue. The Mount Scott Community Center in Southeast Portland at 5530 Southeast 72nd Avenue will open, as will the East Portland Community Center located at 740 Southeast 106th Avenue. Again, each of these will open at 3 o'clock on Christmas Day, Saturday. The shelter sites will be open for 24 hours for as many days as we have severe weather in this community. And it's important to know that these sites will welcome all people and their pets. I want to thank Portland Parks, the Salvation Army, and Rockwood CDC for making these sites available. And we will continue to open additional sites as these sites become full. And that's why it's so critical that community members who are looking for the most current information about severe weather shelter sites go to 211info.org or call 211 anytime. They'll be open 24 hours. Community members can also go to 211info.org and sign up to receive a daily email alert indicating that we are in severe weather and providing a link to the most current information about severe weather shelter sites. With respect to outreach, given that we had snow and extended cold weather in the forecast already earlier this week, we began releasing severe weather supplies on Monday through a network of community-based organizations and first responders. Those severe weather supplies include 15-degree sleeping bags, tents large enough to allow people to get their gear inside so it can stay dry, Mylar sleeping bag covers to keep their bags dry, hoodies, socks, hand warmers, ponchos, beanie hats and gloves, and of course, blankets and tarps. Large quantities of these supplies have already gone out through our contracted outreach providers, through the park rangers, Portland Police Bureau, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, Rapid Response, and Central City Concerns Clean Start Program. We have dozens of community-based organizations and mutual aid groups that have been and will be out there in every quadrant of the county, checking on people, distributing gear, and encouraging people to come to shelter. And I want to thank them for all of their tireless work. But we could use more people to get these critical supplies out. This is an opportunity for the community to help. Our supply center downtown will be open by appointment tomorrow, Friday, from 8 to 4:30, and Saturday, Christmas Day, from 9 to 2, and Sunday from 9 to 2 as well. If you or your organization would like to get supplies and help distribute them, you can make an appointment by emailing johsupplies@multco.us. johsupplies@multco.us. You can also help by donating cold weather gear. Outreach and shelter providers in our community depend on donations to make sure that they have enough cold weather gear for everyone who needs it. These providers have wish lists set up at 211info.org/donations with links to Amazon and information about where purchased items can be dropped off. And finally, as you've heard from Commissioner Ryan and from the chair, everyone can help during this winter storm by looking out for our neighbors who are unhoused. By calling 911 if there is an emergency situation. If you see someone who looks like they might be struggling in the cold, calling police non-emergency and asking for a welfare check. And by helping someone you know who needs shelter to call 211 and go through that process of requesting free transportation to a shelter. During these severe weather events, people living outside need us more than ever. Now I'd like to turn it over to the Multnomah County Health Officer, Dr. Jennifer Vines.
Thank you, Mark, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Jennifer Vines. I'm the Multnomah County Health Officer. I realize we're actually 6 months to the day of our extreme heat event last June, but of course this is different. The risk over the next several days is going to be hypothermia, which happens when the body loses heat faster than it can generate it. So as our bodies get cold, we shiver to create heat, but if we can't keep up, then our cells start to stop working. It can happen slowly. It can also happen quickly, especially if someone is wet and without shelter. It looks like confusion, clumsiness, slurred speech, and stumbling. And as the body gets colder, what starts as confusion and clumsiness progresses to passing out. So I want to emphasize the importance of not assuming someone is just intoxicated and needs to be left alone. Unfortunately, drug and alcohol use contribute to the risk of hypothermia, and so does being malnourished and dehydrated. So the risk will be concentrated among those who are currently living outside. Please check on those around you. Watch for people in distress. Don't assume they're intoxicated. Please know how to direct them to shelter. Consider distributing warming gear to those in your neighborhood. And as always, be careful for yourself and others on slippery sidewalks and roads. The Omicron COVID variant is here. It's almost certainly spreading quickly. The weather has delayed some of our vaccine efforts, so please continue to listen for opportunities to get vaccinated and boosted as soon as our roads are clear. In the meantime, if you're at high risk of severe COVID, if you're over age 50 or have an underlying health condition, seriously consider limiting your close social contacts and make sure everyone around you is vaccinated, preferably boosted, and wearing a well-fitting mask. Finally, the holidays are a stressful time for a lot of people, even more so in light of the steady stream of difficult news. Please know that you're not alone. The county crisis line is open at 503-988-4888. And now it's back to Julie Sullivan to moderate some question and answer. Thank you.
Hi all, I'm going to ask for all of our speakers and our guests, Jonna and Chris, to come back on the screen. And then I'm going to ask if reporters can put your name in the chat, and we'll start calling by how you get in there and in order. And we'll start asking people to unmute themselves and ask their questions. We're going to start with Elise Haas at COIN. Elise, are you able to unmute?
I am unmuted. That's just
Oh, we're having a really hard time hearing you. No need to turn on your video. Okay.
you now hear me?
A little bit. It's no, not really.
Can you?
We can hear you now.
You can? That's so
Yes.
strange. That's great. Quick clarifying question. Mark Dolan had mentioned all of the addresses and names of the warming centers, but one of them is different than what I'm seeing online. So I was wondering if he could, it was the Sunrise Center. It said that he mentioned the Sunrise Center, but I'm not seeing that on the list online.
The Sunrise Center is definitely one of the sites that will be opening, being operated by a nonprofit partner called Cultivate Initiatives. So we'll check and see the online, or which list are you looking at online?
I'm looking at the link that I think Julie had sent in the chat. It had the Portland building, the East Portland Community Center, Mount Scott, Salvation Army, and then the others that were listed were the Oregon Convention Center and Market Street, but that may be just for volunteering.
That is for preparing, sorry, just stepping in. That is for volunteers only for preparation periods. Those are, I just chatted the homepage. So I would direct people to that page for the active shelters.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise. We're going to go ahead and have Kelly Azar from K2.
Hello, thank you all for taking the time. My question, I think, is for Chair Kafori and Commissioner Ryan. Dr. Vines did bring up the fact that, of course, we had this heat event just 6 months ago to the day. Can you both talk to us about what we've learned from that and what we're implementing in this situation?
Sure, I'm happy to start. I can say we learned a lot, and I hope all of you received copies of our the report that we did after the event of the heat wave. But first, I'll just name a couple of things off the top of my head. One of them is the declaring an emergency. Not only does declaring emergency give us additional tools to respond quickly and to be nimble, but it also sends a message to the community that this is really serious. This is like typing in all caps. This is serious. Please pay attention. So declaring a state of emergency, both at the city and the county, is one of the takeaways from the report. And then preparing even earlier than usual. I mean, we've been through, unlike the heat wave, which we really hadn't seen temperatures like that in our lives, we have had several experiences like this, like what we're expecting this winter, including just last year. But we know that the earlier that we can start preparing, the earlier that we can get the message out to community members, the more clearly we talk about what is needed and where we're going to be providing services, the better. I think the difference this year and why we're even started even earlier is because of the holiday weekend, and we know a lot of people tune out and tune into their families, which I respect, and I'm happy that people are doing that. But we also want people to save a little of their time to help their neighbors and to help others who are in need.
I would just add, thank you, Chair. I would just add that I think you're just increasingly seeing the alignment between the city and the county. We demonstrated that quite clearly just over a month ago when we looked at our budget surplus and how we could align our investments to have the greatest impact. I will just say what I've experienced is early dialogue and alignment amongst all of our emergency bureaus. And I'll also just say we have more experience with preparing for winter severe weather than we do summer severe weather. So this is something that we have more experience with, and I've just been impressed with both the city and the county leadership preparing us this week for this upcoming challenge.
Can I ask a quick follow-up? One of the big issues in the summer was staffing for shelters and cooling centers at that point, of course, opposite this time around. Are you expecting any issues with that, or will all shelters and warming centers be open as they should be?
You hit the nail on the head there. Staffing is definitely a challenge. We have space. We've mentioned the spaces that are available. We need staff, and that's one of the reasons why we're starting earlier to call out on our city and county staff as well. They're a huge part of our response. We really couldn't do it without our city and county staff who step up time and time again, and in addition to the work that they do on a daily basis. But yes, we're calling the community to help out. We're actually hopeful that because this is a holiday time and people maybe have a vacation from work or they have friends and family in from out of town, that they're ready to get away from it all and take some time to help their friends and family, or help our friends who are experiencing homelessness by volunteering in our shelters. So we're staffing up right now. If anybody is interested, we urge you to go online and to sign up.
Thank you all.
I'll just add, what better way to celebrate the season than to take some time and to participate, to give and help out your fellow neighbors during the time of year when that's really the message.
Thanks, Kelly. Next, we're going to go to Sarah Hurwitz from KPTV.
Hi, thank you. My question, I think, is for Mark. So, during the pandemic, I know that there have been kind of some changes within shelters, with social distancing, things like that. I'm curious what the setup looks like in this case, you know, if you have more people coming in the middle of an emergency, what does the plan look like there? And if, you know, you guys reach capacity because you have to social distance, that kind of piece, what do you guys have to do in that case?
Yeah, so we've worked very closely with Dr. Vines and the public health leadership on the county side to ensure that as we create these congregate environments, we're adhering to the guidance. One of the reasons we have so many sites is that we can accommodate fewer people in each site in order to maintain distance. We'll have masking expectations in place, hygiene expectations in place, and the people working in the shelters will have been trained on what the protocols are. So it is something that our congregate shelters have been grappling with since the onset of the pandemic. We worked through it last winter as well when we were in the convention center and up in Arbor Lodge. So we will be addressing that risk and recognizing that the most urgent risk right now with this weather is the hypothermia risk to folks who are still outside. So we're gonna try to address both as best we can, and largely by ensuring that we maintain distance and masking and the standard protocols for COVID response.
Thank you.
Next, we have Aaron Mesh from Willamette Week.
Good afternoon. This question is for Chair Kafoury. After the heat dome, there was a discussion of using the flash alert system to send text notifications to vulnerable people. Is that being discussed as something that's going to happen this weekend?
I don't know the answer to that question, Aaron. I'll have to ask Chris Voss or Julie Sullivan to weigh in.
Chris, we'll ask you to unmute.
Yes, we did start very early this year, so we will communicate with the comms department. And typically when we're using those tools, we're getting closer to an event. But one of the reasons why we're having this event now is to make sure we're getting the message out as early as possible. But if we see a situation where we think that tool will assist us getting that message out, absolutely, that's something that we will utilize.
Thanks, Chris. And Aaron, as you remember, we did use it in both at the end of July and in August for different populations.
I do remember that, yes. That's why I'm
Right.
asking now.
Exactly. Yep. We have a script. Alex Zielinski from the Portland Mercury.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering, so this February, when we had our huge kind of ice storm around Valentine's Day, it led to a huge power outage across Oregon and Washington. And it really led to folks being without heat and without power for a long amount of time. I'm curious kind of what's in place now, if anything different, to prevent that or to help people survive if they do not have power for a while and it's very cold. What's your thinking kind of in regards to that? And this question's for whoever has the answer.
Does Chris or John, I want to talk about, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'll start. First, one of the criteria that we utilize when we're looking at locations is, does it have backup power? We also have been communicating regularly with our utilities so that they know and have our shelter locations on their tier list, so that if there are outages, it's something that they might address a little quickly. But you'll also see that this go around, we actually have several more locations open, and we're actually have a few that are tier 2 that if we had to potentially open, we could sort of expand into if we lose a location, or if also to make sure that we meet our ultimate goal, which is that we continue to keep our doors open for everybody that needs it, that comes to one of our shelters. So it's something we talk about regularly, and we work with the experts and our utilities on that piece.
So I guess my question was for shelters, but also just for the general public. Like a ton of households were without power for a long time too. And I don't really know if there's anything in place to respond to that or to prepare.
The one thing I will also add, and while I'm not the National Weather Service, I've been on many meetings with them over the last several days, and they don't anticipate that this type of snow would generate ice, which is typically one of the most significant factors in taking down and impacting the electrical system. So certainly if you do lose power, we want you to call 911 and/or to head to one of our locations if it's not safe where you are. But like I said, and that's why we keep our doors open. And like I said, we'll regularly continue to work with our utilities on that component.
Yeah, Chris, I would just add, and Alex, that our good partners at PGE and PacifiCorp are on this, and they're working 24/7 right now to be prepared.
Great. Is there a final call for questions from any of the media? If you do, if you get off the phone and you think, why didn't I ask that? Just shoot myself or Kate Yeiser or Margot over at the city, Margot Week, an email, and we'll get right back to you. And if you go to multco.us/cold, at the top of the right-hand page is a list of media contacts. I know we're going to all be talking a lot in the next 8 or 10 days. And I really want to thank everybody, because I know you all have families as well, for coming, and thank our speakers and our guests who came today. Thank you very much, and may everybody have a safe holiday, and don't forget to stock up on essentials. Take care.